Hey everyone, off the mic Sports Network here. Super Bowl 59 has come and gone. The Philadelphia Eagles, in one of the more dominant Super Bowl wins in recent memory, absolutely annihilate the Kansas City Chiefs, 40-22. This was not close. This was a joke, a large chunk of the game, and the closing margin of 18 doesn't even really accurately describe how bad of a massacre this was for the Kansas City Chiefs. So, but let's address, you know, meat and potatoes, exactly why the Philadelphia Eagles won this game. And I'm not going to get into narratives and blaming people because that's going to be what you go on the internet for and not why you watch this channel. The reason why the Philadelphia Eagles won this game, and believe me, I am willing to take it on the chin, you Eagles fans that want to tell me that I'm a moron and that I was wrong. Listen, I I really believed and bought into the Chiefs were the better team, but I knew that the Philadelphia Eagles on talent, roster construction, on talent was the best roster in the NFL this year. Like, like it's not to me. It may not even be close because they've got Saquon Barkley, a Pro Bowl running back who had his best season ever. You have AJ Brown, a Pro Bowl receiver. Devontae Smith, maybe the best wide receiver too. Dallas Goedert's a good tight end. Jalen Hurts, when protected, is a really good quarterback. And then their defensive line, like Jalen Carter is a freaking animal. How that guy didn't get picked in the top 5 or even number 1 in his draft is a joke. Is a joke. Cooper DeJean, we thought he was a stud in college. He's playing on their secondary. Like Quinyon Mitchell, Darius Slay, like they have dudes all over the place. Let's not get it twisted. This is the most talented roster in the NFL. Here's the problem and why I lean Kansas City. Coaching and quarterback. And I thought the Mahomes-Reed combo was going to win out and this was going to be a close game. That did not prove to be the way that it was going to go. Kansas City, their offense really struggled. The defensive line, I think I saw a stat that this might have been one of the first Super Bowls in recent memory where where one team didn't blitz. Like Vic Fangio, who's known to pressure, did not blitz at all in this game. They got home with 4. Like they were doing everything they could, and Patrick Mahomes just did not feel comfortable at all in this game. I think it was 6 or 7 sacks. Mahomes threw a couple of really bad interceptions, one by Zach Bond, who, by the way, Zach Bond, Pro Bowl linebacker, they just pulled him off the street from New Orleans. He was a special teams guy. Like, this is the most loaded roster in the NFL. They lost once since September. Once since September, which is wild. Wild that you could have a roster like this lose one game since the 4th week of the season when they lost to Tampa Bay. That is insanity. That it has been that long since they lost one game, but that was when their quarterback was injured. The reason why the Philadelphia Eagles won this game is because everything that you heard about this being the best roster in the league was proved to fruition. And it was the exact same script that happened to Patrick Mahomes in the COVID Super Bowl in 2021 when he lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And what was it, 31-9 or something like that? Like Mahomes was running for his life. And this was a much better offensive line. That was a bunch of backups. Like Joe Tooney's a really good player. Trey Smith is going to get paid in free agency. These are good people. Creed Humphrey, great offensive lineman. They have dudes on this offensive line for the Kansas City Chiefs. They got put to work by Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Zach Bond, like the front 4, and even Brandon Graham, who was literally out since like week 5 or week 6 of the season. The Eagles were the better team, okay? And the reason I bought into the Mahomes magic, a lot of people were going to be like, oh, the refs were going to give them everything. And it started off with a really weird call, but there was some bad officiating in this game. But look, this was just not competitive. It was 24-0 at half. It was not like I at one point, I think before their first touchdown drive of the game, the Chiefs had not crossed midfield for basically half the game. That's how dominant the Eagles were in this game. So credit to Jalen Hurts, credit to Nick Sirianni, who has validated himself, credit to Howie Roseman, Jeffrey Lurie, and this entire organization. They've now won 2 Super Bowls in the span of a decade. They've beaten 2 of the greatest quarterbacks to ever live to do it, which says something. They won with a bat. By the way, if you're Carson Wentz, what are you thinking right now? The guy who backed you up previously, and Nick Foles won the Super Bowl the year that you were going to probably win the MVP, and then the guy who replaced you in Jalen Hurts gets a Super Bowl while you're standing on the other sideline as a member of the Kansas City Chiefs. So I'd love to be I love to be a fly on the wall at Carson Wentz's house and see what he was feeling after this game. But look, we'll have a lot of conversations in the weeks to come about how this affects Patrick Mahomes' legacy. But meat and potatoes, what you need to know about this game, for anybody that watched, this wasn't about Donald Trump. This wasn't about who's rooting for who. This wasn't about Taylor Swift. This wasn't about Travis Kelce. This was about the Philadelphia Eagles solidifying themselves as the best team in football. They were the best team in football pretty much most of the season. You just didn't notice it because of all the shenanigans that were going on in the first 4 weeks of the season. They go 2-2, come off the bye. My Cleveland Browns actually almost beat them, which some people think is still a validation to keep Deshaun Watson around, which I think is ridiculous. But the point is, this team was dominant. They are the best constructed roster in the NFL. They are the best built team in the NFL. I've got to hand it to Nick Sirianni. They were pretty damn well coached in this game too. And they'll lose Kellen Moore. They'll probably figure out another way to get a new offensive mind into that building. Vic Fangio's still going to be around. Like, they're not going away. Like, you want to talk about maybe the next dynasty? The Philadelphia Eagles might be it, because Jalen Hurts is under contract for a long time. A.J. Brown, fine, under a contract. Saquon, he signed like I think a 3 or 4 year deal. He's there for a long time. This team is not going away. Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell, 2 rookies that they took. They draft well. They pay their players well. They have the craziest and the weirdest and in some ways maybe the best fans in the NFL. Like, this is really the culmination of validating who a redemption story, because the Eagles probably should have won that game 2 years ago. If it weren't for a fumble that Nick Bolton returns for a touchdown, if it weren't for a controversial, PI penalty, who knows how that game goes. The Eagles took this personally. They got here. Yes, they had to deal with a bunch of issues. Like, the weather helped them beat the Rams. They had some weird games early on in the season, but that's the thing. And the reason why people were hit and miss with the Eagles is that they were such a talented team, best roster in the NFL, but they got in their own way. And we were just waiting for that shoe to drop at any point, and it never happened in this playoff. There was a brief moment against the Rams where maybe it would have reared its ugly head if the weather had not been what it was. But other than that, this Eagles team was just dominating people. They took the Packers to school, and the Packers are a really good team. They absolutely annihilated the Commanders. Granted, they should have done that. And then they take this Chiefs team that had only lost twice all season and once legitimately straight up all season and absolutely destroyed them. They beat them by 18. But again, this was 40-14 until Mahomes threw a late touchdown to Xavier Worthy against the Eagles backups. But all you need to know, really, at least in terms of the raw, why the Eagles won the Super Bowl, is because they were the better team. Cliche, obvious answer, but clearly they were the best roster. Best player, typically what happens is if you have the best players at certain positions in football, you win. But this was the best roster. And credit to Jalen Hurts, he played his mind out. I don't think he deserved the MVP. I get why they did it. He had about 300 yards of total offense. But that wasn't the reason. The Eagles defense and the way that was constructed was the reason why they won this game. But we'll have a lot more on the Super Bowl coming up. Thanks for watching. We're getting up there at subscribers. Eagles fans, if you want to hit me in the comments and tell me I'm an idiot, I deserve it. I was very, very wrong about this. I shat on your team for a couple of weeks, and I took some shots because I thought that they were kind of getting a little bit lucky, but I knew how talented this team was. And if they rounded into form and straight up and they didn't get in their own way, the Eagles were going to win this Super Bowl. I just thought that, the Mahomes magic, and if they kept this close, the Chiefs were going to win this game. There were only 2 results in my mind of this game. It was going to be the Eagles are going to blow out the Chiefs, which happened, or this was going to be a close win for Kansas City, what they had done all year. And the fact that it wasn't close, that did not help Kansas City at all. They got behind early quickly. They had picked 6. It was just a mess. So we'll have a lot more on the Kansas City side of this, a lot of other great stuff coming along. I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.